our invasion of the natural environment. So
exactly. This perspective is I mean, that this maybe has been induced by something environmental, footprint. Yeah.
At least we are invading the natural environments of the species who propagated this disease. So definitely getting in touch with wild animals and destroying their environment sometimes has these effects. I mean, I don't think it's we can attribute as the main cause, but it's related to it definitely.
Yeah.
Hello, this is your IGF host speaking again. My name is Victor. I have some important information to share with all panelists and attendees, namely that please be informed that this session is recorded and hosted under the IGF Code of Conduct and UN rules and regulations. Please kindly respect that. Please be also aware that the chat feature is for social chat only and the Q&A feature should be used to ask questions. Have a very successful session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think we can wait a couple of minutes more because not everyone has joined. Victor, I see Shauna Finnegan, who is also co-organizer of the workshop among the attendees. Can you promote her?
Okay, upgrade already.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I suppose we should start by now. Still, a couple of participants are not yet there, but I hope it's like Alexandra Lutz and Yunus Ayao that are not connected yet. But I suppose if they appear, you will be able to upgrade them to the full participant.
Yes, Leonardo, I will watch for the attendees list. Once I see them, I will upgrade them immediately. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so welcome to the workshop 339, also called Circular Economy of ICT. The workshop is organized by Shauna, who is also connected, but in a very inconvenient time, and YZ from Nigeria, and myself. I'm an activist from IPC and also an academic from the Technical University of Catalonia. So I'm going to introduce a little bit, and then I will explain the structure of the discussion or the session. So first of all, when we talk about ICT, we talk about things which have an electrical power supply and many electronic components made with scarce materials, and in exchange of electricity, they deal with digital data, and they process the data, they storage the data, and the problem is huge. Of course, Henriette says, and we did it in other meetings. Perhaps you can, you as a host could perhaps upgrade everyone as attendees, because I think it's more friendly to be in the same space and allow everyone to participate without any barrier. So thank you for this suggestion. So I know there's a small hiccup when people get promoted. So let's wait until people join the room in equal terms. Yeah, computer-based systems tend to be cruel sometimes. I mean, in a normal meeting, you will not be happy to see some people behind a glass and the rest sitting in the meeting room. And access rights makes things easier or difficult, or they create a boundary that is not natural. Thank you for promoting everyone. So, well, I was saying that the problem is huge. Even though we are now 33 or so panelists, perhaps around us, there are more than 2-3 times more devices than people in this meeting room. And the same happens globally, is that there are many more ICT devices than people by far on Earth. And many more are being manufactured as we speak. Some, at least, they work, but some no longer work. And they are still devices. Some others are simply piles of huge hills of waste in landfills, and that's happening and growing as we speak. Devices have very limited lifespan for the cost they require to be produced. And the typical model is that devices are made, used, disposed, and that's what we call the linear model. And devices can be either something useful, a useful resource, or waste. And then we could define briefly circular circular economy or circularity as the goal to keep resources in use as long as possible, and then recover and regenerate devices so that we minimize or we remove completely the waste, the concept of waste. So ICT devices are both part of the environmental problem. They consume energy, they consume materials, they produce waste, but can be also part of the solution. I mean, digital can help reduce other impacts, but of course, we have to find the right balance, let's say. You know that, well, every time there are new models of devices being announced and consumers get excited, but manufacturing workers get exhausted, and suppliers get exhausted too, and devices get abandoned because there's a new device, and landfills also grow and grow. So we can do much better. And not only much better because we think ethically that's correct, but also because the environment, we are living beyond the limits of our environmental boundaries. And then the more and more we experience effects of this environmental degradation. So the idea of this meeting is to share different experiences. Circular economy is partly known, partly unknown, and we want to raise an understanding because we need collective action, and for collective action we need collective awareness. And we have several speakers, 3 to 5, depending if everyone shows up. And then the suggestion was to organize the session, the time we have left in 3 blocks. One block to introduce some ideas from each of the speakers, about 5 minutes per person. So we can spend 1/3 of the time sharing views, and then we can spend some other time in questions and answers about the topics we introduce or other aspects that the audience can bring about. And third, it's nice to share ideas, but I think it's also important to discuss what commitments, what actions we can do together or individually, and collect some key ideas for the future. Basically, among 3 aspects. One is what can be, let's say, what experiences can be replicated, what ways we can continue the discussion in a kind of multi-stakeholder forum for the governance of the circular economy in case we find it necessary, and what measures like policies, regulation mechanisms, incentives that can help in improving and accelerating the transition to a circular economy or a more sustainable economy of ICT devices. So for doing that, I shared before, and I also share again, there is a kind of simple like board where you can leave as we speak. You can share there key ideas you find worth highlighting. You can also leave questions, and later on you will be able to leave also some suggestions for future actions. You can add post-it in this link. You can add post-it notes, and you can also like highlight those who are interesting for you, so we can also prioritize and discuss those who have more interest from the participants. So without any more ado, I pass the floor to Rosie, who will give us her perspective. Rosie, welcome.
Thank you, Leandro. Hello, everyone. I'm among activists. I'm Rosie Bacco, and among academics, I'm Rosalia Clara Bacco. I'm a sociologist by profession, and my research interest is repair practices in the local community where I live and where I work. Today is Black Friday in Romania. I'm from Romania. For me, it will be a Green Friday because I won't buy anything. I think I have enough things and objects and devices and services. My focus today will be the repairability of devices and its context from the perspective of sustainable use of ICTs. And I will be looking at regional opportunities and some local action steps that can be taken. And this is an occasion for me to give a glimpse of the forthcoming Romanian report of the Global Information Society Watch, organized and curated by the Association for Progressive Communications, in which I'm a rapporteur for Romania since 2007, and also as part of the Circular Economy Action Group within the Association for Progressive Communications. We are in the process of developing a guide on circular economy, and I developed a short case story from Romania, a good example on how the circular economy can be done with local and regional participation of multiple stakeholders. While information and communication technologies are key drivers of innovation, their increasing environmental impact is a reason for concern. The European Green Deal has set an ambitious goal for the European Union countries to be climate neutral in 2050, with no net emissions of greenhouse gases and an economic growth decoupled from resource use. For such a radical shift to happen, encouraging innovation and environmental friendly solutions in the energy sector, in housing, transport, industry, should be on the policymakers' agenda. As part of the European Green Deal, a new circular economy action plan was developed, including a sustainable product policy framework. And a special chapter of the document is dedicated to ICTs. Implementing the forthcoming Eco-Design Directive on energy efficiency, durability, repairability, upgradability, maintenance, reuse and recycling, as well as prioritizing the right to repair for ICTs, including the right to upgrade obsolete software, very important element when it comes to prolonging the life of our devices. The European Commission is working on a circular electronics initiative to promote longer product lifetimes, as I said, including measures for energy efficiency, durability, repairability, universal chargers, better cables, and improving the collection and the treatment of electronic waste, since it is the fastest growing waste stream in the European Union with an annual growth rate of 2%. Repairing things, including ICTs, seems to be part of our daily practices. It's not of the routines, and the research that we are implementing locally shows the same. It's not something groundbreaking to fix things. It's just that there are several obstacles when it comes to repairing electronics, and experts have identified 3 levels of barriers when it comes to implementing repair and repairability. The first level is the legal and bureaucratic obstacles preventing accessible repair. The second level is related to the price of repair compared to buying a new product. And the third level is the consumer preferences not favoring repair, which is related to a growing consumerist attitude among some categories of population and conspicuous consumption practices. In order to enable the right to repair, experts recommend a step-by-step approach to policymakers in order to create an open repair environment. The first step should be to eliminate the barriers on level 1, the legal and bureaucratic obstacles preventing accessible repair, and the EU action plans are within this framework. So the regulatory framework should be an enabler of an open repair environment. What is the difference between open and closed repair? In case of open repair, consumers have a choice on who will conduct the repair, whereas in closed repair systems, they restrict consumers to repair shops provided by the manufacturer. And currently we are in a system of closed repair. In order to open the repair market advocated by independent repair shops and consumers, it is necessary to grant access to spare parts and schematics of ICTs. And it is important to note that a closed repair environment shortens the lifespan of products due to the restricted access to authorized repair services and their high prices, encouraging consumers to rather buy a new smartphone, tablet, or laptop rather than repairing the old one. Of course, those who cannot afford, it's also a matter of affordability. Those who cannot afford to buy a new one will try everything to prolong their device's lifespan, not because they are so environmentally concerned, but because they don't have the resources to buy a new one. And there is another important element that authorized repair shops often mislead customers, telling them that the device is either not repairing or they offer repair services, but at a very high price, which discourages consumers to repair their devices. In my case story developed for the circular economy guide, which will be launched at the Association for Progressive Communication booth on Monday, check the schedule at the APC booth. I presented a short positive example from Romania. I will just referring to it as a teaser. On an educational campaign developed by an electronic waste management company from Romania called Ecotic. It's called Enter the Circle of Solidarity, and it's a very good example on how multiple stakeholders can work together in order to come with a sustainable solution. During the lockdown, only about 60% of the children had full access to electronic devices and an electronic learning environment. So something really needed to be done. So this organization, in partnership with Workshop Without Border, a social enterprise, where people with disabilities are fixing electronic devices. They collected discarded computers and laptops from the population, from the companies, and repaired it, and then distributed it to those schools and NGOs that were in need of learning, digital learning tools. So that is for now. My interest and commitment here is to learn more from the participants and from my fellow panelists on how digital literacy and environmental literacy can be weaved together. Because for years I was doing it on separate tracks. I work as an activist in an environmental organization since 1994, but also started to volunteer in digital literacy programs, and I think it's important to make environmental literacy part of the digital literacy agenda. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Rosie. And now I pass the floor to Mireia. Mireia, you can introduce yourself and speak. I don't know if you have some slides you want to share, or I can share. Or...
Yes, I have some slides. I was wondering if you are going to do it or if I have to do it.
Yeah, I.
Oh, what I can pass if you want. So, hello everybody. Thank you, Leandro. I'm Mireia from Reuse, Barcelona. I am the same team than Leandro and David Franquesa, who is joining this workshop as well. And first of all, I want to start my presentation with a point of reflection. So can we say that our way of consuming, as if it were what the philosopher can call an imperative, it's a form of banality of evil? It's a concept from Hannah Arendt. According to the Waste Monitor Agency, it might be, because we are following the dogma of consumption without thinking if this is good or bad. And the consequence is that last year, we dumped or burned more than $57 billion in materials, the extraction of which had generated suffering and destruction. So we at Reuse believe that it's urgent to raise awareness of this problem. The citizen has become just a consumer more than ever, and especially in technology. So what can we do? The materials used in technology are valuable, but have a detrimental effect on vulnerable communities with rights not enough represented. And additionally, single-use consumerism has an enormously negative impact on our planet. In Reuse, we focus on models based in a commons governance with shared ownership as a key structure to help reduce this negative impact. So as you see in the screen, okay, our model creates local ecosystems with many stakeholders with different roles that intercooperate to capture, remanufacture, and recirculate electronic devices for, among others, fight against digital inequality. And we do it all under a commons governance. This means that the management of the thousands of devices that we receive each year is managed as a common pool resource with agreed rules, compensations, and limits and sanctions. In these ecosystems, there must be an entity which acts as a referee. With reference to the Eleanor Ostrom Nobel Prize, the common good to be preserved is the use value of the devices. So under a commons ownership of the devices, the end user is not the owner of the device. He's just receiving a service by using it. So when this end user wants to get rid of his computer, he has to ask the circuit before, and if this circuit considers that it cannot be recirculated again, then and only then it's recycled. So can we pass to slide 2, please, Leandro? Okay. So we have a very good relationship with Barcelona City Council, and we began by accepting thousands of computers from this public administration. But soon we discovered that the public sector use of devices was much greater than the private sector. So therefore, one key lesson is to not become the landfill for the public sector devices, because the use value is much lower than the private sector. To have a sustainable ecosystem, we need to prioritize devices from the private sector as an input, but focus on both the private and public sector for the output. This focus helps to reinforce the public sector awareness of sustainability, and this can lead to more active green policies by the public sector, such as green procurement policies. Okay, next slide, please, Leandro. Okay. Running an ecosystem can be hard, and tools, protocols, technology are all needed. So we have developed an open source support software tool to manage registration, inventory, and traceability of the reuse pool of devices managed by the circuits. So through the different refurbishment entities and through this open source software, we collect details about the second-hand computers and their components to analyze their full life cycle until final recycling. So we can calculate the environmental impact in addition to the reuse hours as well as the social impact. Okay, next, okay. The chain of value of a circular economy model is greater than the classic charity because it delivers value through the creation of environmental jobs. So one key point is that the end users needs to pay for the service at an affordable price, of course. The question is who pays the cost when we target the vulnerable communities? It depends on the structure and support within its ecosystem. And to finish my presentation, my final question is about social impact, because we have distributed thousands of computers in Barcelona, but I ask myself, and how and what are they being used for? So we need to continue with the investigation here. All in all, the model has been labor intensive to set up, but the benefits have far outweighed the effort. So I finish here and I pass the floor to Leandro. Thank you.
Thank you, Mireia. It was very clear. Well done. Now the next speaker is Waiset, that I see you are connected.
My name is Waiset Yau. Center for
Well said, your sound is breaking up. Maybe you can switch off the video.
Communications engineer. Okay. Right. So, as I said, I train as a telecommunications engineer, but I also practice as an academic and now as a civil society organizer from a developing country like Nigeria. I mentioned on the contradictory implementation. And that I would like to look at how digital inclusion in the context of poverty and in the context of the country that is largely ICT nation, looked at the dynamics is playing out as we push for digital inclusion. The most obvious effect is that the e-waste with the importation of second-hand ICT goods. This is because first, Nigeria is not producing its own ICT. And secondly, because of the poverty and the crisis afford given usually second hands have new ones. So what we have here is increasing dumping of e-waste as they landed in the country, which is leading to is a response to the demand for digital inclusion. But I think that the people on this phone finding solution in research, and two very promising first action have been inspiring.
Sorry,
On the one hand, is increasing development.
Sorry, what I said. I think it's really hard to understand. I said, can you? I'm sorry, but we only get 1 out of 10 or 20 words. So can you? Can you instead share some text on your presentation, because it will be easy to follow.
Waste, and that is creating an incipient foundation for the circular economy. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, because it's a pity we lose most of your message, but if you have some text.
So I'm saying that response.
Yeah, it's a pity that we cannot hear such an important point coming from as Andrea says, from northern Nigeria, and when connectivity is not there, it's difficult to be on a circular economy. And what Wysed was talking about is related to the additional problems on dealing with e-waste and informal repair, and the situation in that country, which is aggravated by these difficulties of communication. So perhaps we can try later on to connect back to Wysed. In the meanwhile, I think we can move to the next speaker, and perhaps if we are lucky, we can try again later on. I haven't seen Alexandra. Alex, are you there by chance? I don't see it among the participants. So if so, then we can move forward to Anders. Anders, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I can introduce and speak for a couple of minutes, 5 minutes at least.
Okay.
I have no slides and so on. I warn you about this, but
No
I
problem.
try to speak slowly and so on. I am Anders Andre. Yeah, maybe you have heard something about me. I work for 12 years, now more than 12 years at Huawei Technologies, Chinese telecommunication equipment manufacturer. And I work with life cycle assessment, eco design, substance management, and these kind of issues. So it's sustainability issues. So it's very interesting time now for this topic, and it's always been. The life cycle assessment is very important. It's always been, but especially for the evaluating circular economy business model, it is crucial to get all these assumptions and data right. But still, due to even you can criticize the modeling, it is essential to everything, every action we do, whether it's repair, remanufacturing, durability, all of this comes together in one score, maybe it be carbon or other indicator. You always have to do this life cycle thinking, life cycle assessment before you can judge, is this a good strategy? We have discussed this a lot, Leandro, and you also understand that. So that is that. I mean, for the circular economy, we need to start, where is it important? High volume products, like maybe in my field, the Wi-Fi router or something like that. It has a much higher success, chance of succeeding with implementing the circular economy in a shorter time than very small, low volume, specialized products. That's how the economy works like that. If you don't have some other regulation. So it's not that we can rush into this, the circular economy, and say, yes, we need just do it immediately, directly for all products. So definitely the collection of all products, I think personally, and I think this is shown by LCA's macro and micro LCA, that we have we need to collect much more of the e-waste, not landfill. This is lunacy to just pile it up. There are resources there that you can use, precious metals, critical raw materials, and all of that. And this is also recognized. So before we have a remanufacturing of every product, we need to start to collect and see what can actually be reused, because of this technology progress, which is rampant. You cannot reuse 10-year-old micro circuits. This is impossible. So we have to look at the realities. But there are many indicators which can measure this product. The material circularity indicator from Ellen MacArthur Foundation. This has not been published so much of this. You have much more to do to publish and calculate and evaluate this indicator with LCA. It's very important. And there's so many bottoms of this. I mean, today I read something about that even in the data center, refreshed servers can also have enough energy efficiency, if modeled correctly here. So there's a lot of things that the artificial intelligence, all these tools can also help optimize this jigsaw puzzle, but still apparently not enough money in this, maybe the same as in the energy efficiency, totally extremely important, of course, to solve the whole thing, but still way under-researched. And then you have the material efficiency counterpart. It's the performance achieved with the amount of material put in. It's the same with energy efficiency. It's also, I mean, you can solve this in a way. And to finish with some ideas which I heard from, actually it was the European Commission. They have this Green Deal, and the previous speaker talked about this Circular Economy Action Plan. This is a very serious policy agenda, drastic new policy will come in just a couple of years in this area. So it's more than just the usual regulation on one product. This is a total economic problem strategy. It's not only an environmental regulation, the Green Deal. It's this. Yeah, I like this new words, extender producer opportunity. It's an extended producer responsibility, but extended producer opportunity. You get a positive opportunity. Yeah, they want to improve the market for recycled materials. Yeah, but then you have to also check with the ACA how much can you actually gain from this, and if for which environmental indicator. Yeah, the product passport for each product sold. You have to declare how much recycled content, what is the durability, and so on. So that is an interesting idea which they have. Yeah. The CO2 rewards are planned for dismantleability to link CO2 targets to circular economy. But then I argue that CO2 is important, but the most important environmental indicator by far is biodiversity. Every of these environmental indicators, if it's raw material depletion, CO2, abiotic acidification, so has to be linked to the extinction of species, because that the ecosystem services. Without them, it's over. So there you need to. The circular economy is bio-based and toxin-free and so on. It's all great, but the biodiversity has to be an indicator which is can never be compromised. Science-based. Yeah, we have the science-based target. Now we're talking about science-based resource use. So you have indicator on product level. So it's science-based, how much resources are there. You have 10, 15 different abiotic depletion indicator, but maybe you need a kind of agreed, for the moment, science-based resource use, science-based energy efficiency also. And the European Commission, I think they seem to want to focus on the materials themselves as to the green chemistry. I mean, drastic decarbonization of the metals and plastics and ceramics, these building blocks. If you decarbonize them, but then I think it's a little dangerous to say just decarbonize. What are the rebound effects and side effects of decarbonization? Are there any other effects on biodiversity? And of course we have now this linear waste management. You have at the end of the use phase waste management, but then it has to be go from the waste management to a truly, you can say, circular economy. But for that we are quite far to reach an agreement that we should have a circular economy, because it has a lot of, you can also criticize it a lot about the conflicts between durability and repairability, and safety. Product safety is a very important prerequisite for every product, for the safe handling of the consumer. And then what is most important in the eco design regulation, you also have is that the performance and the safety are kind of more important. They're low risk than this, but there's more to do. Definitely, it's very interesting the tools we have now to check this problem. And also this is not new, but product design for planet safety, planetary boundaries. We have already this, but I think these kind of messages will be more important. Circular economy is one issue we can tie this together, but it's hard to understand where are we going. With that, we need to be able to measure sustainability more or something. But my personal idea now and is that biodiversity is under researched, and this is we need to have, if we have carbon reduction, we also need to have biodiversity safety, something like that. Okay, I'm finished.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anders. A lot of ideas that are worth maybe to discuss. So So shall we maybe open the floor for questions or comments? You know, the circular economy, it's very extensive, many processes involved, and we try to cover some viewpoints. But if you have a question or a comment also about something that we haven't missed in the landscape, feel free to speak, to ask the floor, and maybe you can raise your hand and ask questions. Or maybe some of the speakers want to clarify any aspect that was missing. Yeah, I see a comment about the lockdown as a good time to collaborate and suggest a new macroeconomic design. Yeah, the mention about the planned obsolescence. In fact, obsolescence, like technological obsolescence, has been mentioned as well. That it's not like fruits that evolve over hundreds of years, but devices, 10 years old device is no longer like usable sometimes. Yeah, Riet's asking for
May I add something?
Oh yeah. Go ahead, Rosie. Yeah, Rosie, feel free.
My camera doesn't work for some reason. I don't know why.
But we can hear your voice.
Oh, it was important. I wanted to show you. I don't know what is going on. I wanted to show you a very old phone I'm using, but I can describe it. Is a 2015 phone related to prolonging the life of our devices. Yes, Leandro, you are right. We are surrounded by many digital devices from very different generations, and we can choose what to do with them. Should we discard them and make them top the landfills, or prolong their use in a way that is reasonable and practical? For instance, I use my 6-year-old phone to make digital recordings. I record interviews with it. It works perfectly. I can also use it as a hotspot. Last year, when I was in Tunis at the RightsCon conference, I bought a data SIM for my phone. And it's true that it works only under 3G, but it was perfect. And I could use my very old phone as an internet resource at the conference for myself. So I think we need some ideas on how can we, from a consumer's perspective, on how can we prolong our devices lifespan in this way, or on a higher level, when we think on an organizational level, how an organization discards their products, they have a larger impact. I think it's important at consumer level as well. It's an educational activity to educate consumers on reusing their devices and prolonging their devices lifespan. But we have to also to look at the bigger picture as well. And as Carlos Afonso mentioned in the comment section, that there are real difficulties, like servers are very energy consumer, sources, and they are really difficult parts of the problem when we want to work on circularity. Let me give you another example from recently. A market leader telecom operator from Romania launched a campaign, a repair campaign called "Give a New Life to Your Device," and they are launching repair services for the consumers. Previously, they only launched a campaign on how to collect all devices and encourage consumers to buy new ones. Now, I think it's a shift. I think it's a mentality shift as well, and even from the perspective of big players, it is important to mention these good practices because they might be copied by others. Thank you.
In fact, what you mentioned links with some of the comments in the discussion that it may happen that your device is no longer usable because the frequency bands might be moved to 5G. So to make room for selling new phones, and then that means that older phones will not find the base station to connect and to be used. I don't know if anyone wants to vocalize the discussion on 5G. That is, well, it's a selling point these days.
Leandro, I don't think this would be correct, that you cannot use your old phones on the 5G networks. This is not actually true. This, you know, it is the same as 4G phones. You know, you can use 3G connection. All of these base stations are multi-band. So this is at least that notion about 5G is incorrect. No, the obsolescence will not be driven by that principle. It will be as the usual stuff that you see, you want it, you think you need it. I cannot have my own one, you know, just because there is something new now, you know. So this is the principle of will.
It might be the case, but at least in my area, I mean, my old Nokia phone from 10 years ago doesn't find a base station because they are being replaced. Maybe it's 2G
I think it must be 2G. Yeah. But I think the discussion also is how many years it should, for example, a mobile phone be able to live. Not 20 years, maybe not even 10 years, but maybe 5 years or 5 to 7 years. That could be a discussion. What could be an expected lifetime, technological lifetime? It should be forever, infinity. Yeah, that's what the Earth demands from us. I mean, this is one thing I think about, that if you have this, if you use it, people don't use it as long as they could anyway. So, I think if they break down before the technical presupposed lifetime, it's a problem. I mean, this one, I would say 5G is a big topic. Maybe you need 5G to solve some other issues also. You know, the resource efficiency of 5G could be quite high. You know, enabling, pipe inspection with drone, things like that. But then you save a lot of fuel and resources. So it seems it has some energy consumption, but it also enables something, and it's also actually very energy efficient. You know, joules per bit is like 25 to 100 times more energy efficient if you look at just the energy. And then how you prove this enabling offsetting cases. Yeah, I think it can be done, but that's not all. But I think it's up to the individual, mostly individual choices. The circular economy is about individual choices, at least in countries which have a perfect collection infrastructure, like, for example, Sweden. Then it's up to the individual how circular you want to be, more or less. Yep.
Yeah, but for instance, I see also a comment in the chat that people is more willing to drive a second-hand car, even if it's more dangerous than a phone. But and they can last more than 10 years, of course. I see, and people love to keep their cars working, despite that they are older and older, and the older they are, the more valuable they become. And whereas with electronics, modern electronics, this is not the case. And they both, I mean, old 20, 30 years cars, ideally, I mean, people is very proud of them. Of course, they are not they're not capable of doing wonders like modern cars, or they don't have so many features, but people love them. And as you said, I mean, it's a matter of choice in letting individuals to decide about the usage of their devices. I also encourage you to come back to and bring some contributions to the board. I see some of you did it. So maybe we can also any other comment, or we can move as someone said. Let's talk about what we can do for this. If you look at the board, there are some ideas, questions, and action items. So we can clarify whatever you're interested, but we have to make sure that we draw some conclusions that allow us to think about. For instance, do we need a governance for the circular economy? Is that something needed, or not? And if so, is it the IGF the right place to keep this discussion, this reflection about how the circular economy is evolving and how that is contributing to mitigate the impacts on the environment?
Yes, Leandro?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think governance, it's a key fact, no? More because our reverse supply chain of electronic devices is now very opaque. So I think that information does not flow between all agents. So which means that it's intermediate, it's operating according to the principle of maximum economic profit without taking the others into account, no? Simply because they don't have this information about the other intermediates. And cooperative ecosystems and governance allow information to be shared and to take decisions that maybe they are not the most profitable economically for each actor, but it's the best for everyone and for the long term.
Mm-hmm. There's some other comments in the chat about the repair economies that that are quite vibrant in many parts of Africa, and that's like an opportunity. We can try if YZ can speak again, because that was mainly the topic of his speech.
Maybe YZ can add his ideas in the chat box.
Yes, of course.
Someone said that the question and answer section does not work, and my internet connection is also unstable. Probably that's the reason why I cannot switch my camera on. But getting back to the repair and repairability and upgrading the life of devices, and the questions addressed on how can we put this message forward to different stakeholders. Yes, the IGF is such a space where we can encounter people from the technical community, educators, civil society activists, academics, policymakers. I think this is one of the spaces where we can speak the same language, even if we have different perspectives. We can bring this positive message, and I do believe that case studies, guides like the circular economy guide that we are working on, Leandro, are good tools to promote the circular economy ideas to the public, to the general public, and also to the policymakers. For policymakers, maybe some other formats are instrumental, such as policy briefs that are summarizing research results and mainstreaming key ideas and also success stories from other parts of the world, because it is also inspiring to see how different regions are and countries are working on the same issue. It is important to get inspired from these. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I agree that IGF it's designed to be a place for discussion about governance on the internet, and definitely ICT devices are the key ingredient. But I don't know if, for instance, anyone in the audience or among the speakers can comment about other possible like forums. There are many, and probably in each one of them there is an opportunity to discuss about one aspect, but some degree of coordination among them would be really useful. And even when we talk about IGF, there are different instruments like portions like this or others. Yeah, there's a comment about IGF to work together with World Economic Forum and New Economy think tanks. Definitely World Economic Forum, or it was mentioned before, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation works on the circular economy in general. One aspect that they have looked sometimes is about the electronics or computer-based devices. That could be another. So, I mean, we are in the decade of the big required efforts for mitigating climate change. Anders before talked, and he's also very active in the ITUT group on circular economy. And there recently there was approved the recommendation of the trajectory of 1.5 degrees from the IPCC implies a linear reduction of more than 4% of environmental impact on ICT, on the ICT sector every year, which goes in the opposite direction of how the sector is evolving. So definitely we are not in the right track. And also sometimes we talk about ICT, but ICT it builds on materials and builds on energy, and energy comes also from other sources which are not that green still. So yeah, there are some comments here about mobile networks, because when we talk about devices, we tend to talk about user devices, the ones we own, but these depend on the network providers, and that is mobile operators and base stations and internet servers, and that is part of the problem as well, or the challenge. There's a mention here about the growth. Frugality is not having more, but rely on less. And I see Michael Gia is willing to talk. Please go ahead, Michael.
Hi everyone, can you hear me? Because I'm using different headphones. Great. Thank you so much, Leandro, and thanks for giving me the floor. So I want to say, when it comes to thinking about the IGF as a space for this, you know, I've been advocating for a very long time that the IGF is quite an ideal place, to be frank, to be discussing things like ICT sustainability, circular economy as it relates to the internet and electronic devices. I think it's wonderful because my thesis and a lot of my experience is it kind of revolves around the fact that there are so many of these conversations happening, but in many different places. This is the siloed approach that is often referred to. A good example of this is that there's a community that I joined last year called the Forum for Sustainability Through Lifecycle Innovation, FSLCI. It's based in Berlin, but it too is a multi-stakeholder community that is meant to bring together different organizations and individuals, researchers, whatnot, working on lifecycle assessment. And I went to their summer school last year, and it was incredibly eye-opening. But the thing is, like, practically nobody there was anybody interested in, was working on necessarily digitization or working on ICT sustainability. So it was a really good way for me, for instance, to bring our perspective to them and for me to get their perspective. So it's a good example, I think, of a community that's out there that's not necessarily engaged with the IGF, but is one that we should be reaching out to. So I suppose my kind of thesis and my call to action of all of this is to say, to me, the IGF represents a great place for convening, for coming together, for bringing together all these different perspectives, and then we can then figure out, well, what needs to be done, what work needs to be done. Already there's a proposed BPF on environmental data, and that's fantastic. That's one side of what I call the square. I'm creating this thing in my head where it goes, if there's 4 points on a square, 1 point is data, 1 point is ICTs themselves and their ability to enable sustainable development or enable more, let's say, greener digitization. But then there's the opposite side of that, the third point, which is obviously ICT sustainability in and of itself. But then there's the fourth point, and that's, let's say, the sustainability of organizations, things like procurements, things like, you know, decarbonizing their supply chain or their operations and whatnot. All of these things are interconnected, but at the same time, there is a lot of space to take each one of these in its own right. The same goes for the circular economy, making sure that we are bringing together, you know, interested individuals and organizations that are interested in this, but also making sure that we have a very clear ask, a very clear kind of path forward, so to speak. But of course, that we can only do that through consultation. So I really kind of implore everyone to think about the different communities, who's missing, who's not part of this conversation, and then use the IGF as the space, whether it's the national and regional initiatives or the global IGF, as a space where we can then bring them together. That is exactly what we're doing on Monday. For instance, somebody I met at the summer school, Pia, she used to be a board member of FSLCI. She's a well-established Chilean circular economy expert working in Latin America. She's actually going to be joining on Monday in a session that I'm moderating, where we will be talking about, and Veronica, who's also on this call, will be there as well. And it will be discussing kind of, well, how does this multi-stakeholder effort to create a more sustainable ICT ecosystem, what does that actually look like? How do we get there? Because the research is there, the ideas are there, but now we need to talk about implementation. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is if we're talking across communities. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is if we have at least one central place where we can bring everybody together. If that's not the definition of the IGF, then I don't know what is. And thank you so much for doing this, Leandro, and for APC, and for everybody for being here.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you say, and it would be great that we use this time together to define, as Andrea said, like a common vision and a common set of values, but also to decide on continuing this discussion further through, I don't know if dynamic coalitions or best practice forums, because definitely the topic deserves it. Because IGF is a space that is active during a few weeks over the year, but we need to find some way to continue the discussion and continue and also start the action. because it's time for doing that. So it's great that, I mean, if you are involved in any of you involved in any further discussion during the IGF, it's the chat and also this board is a good place to share the links, because we need to keep this discussion on, and also to reinforce what the IGF has done this year, which that has put environmental topics as one of the key priorities. So we have to make sure that this continues and gives results. I see other comments about different business models. For instance, we typically think about consumer electronics or personal devices, but also there are the work environment and the governmental environment. Public procurement is very successful, and the selection of devices for work, and it's driven by completely different principles. And public procurement is many times aware of all the implications from the circular economy, because they want to perhaps buy at the best price, but also not being part of exploitation of the environment and of people, both in the manufacturing and then in the disposal of the devices later on. And or during the COVID pandemic, we've witnessed, as Mireia mentioned, that governments sometimes see the solution of buying new laptops for children, but then when they go to the marketplace, they find that the supply chain is broken, and then the only way to go forward is by reusing devices that were there and were operational recently, and then that's the only way to really supply any devices for users. There was a comment here about guarding this space, and yeah, greenwashing, of course, is about an ineffective action. We have to find effective ways to move forward.
I think an important stakeholder to be brought at the discussion table beyond the consumers that Henriette Esterhuizer mentioned, those consumers who are at the end users of the supply chain. Independent repair shops, independent repairs organizations are also deeply involved in the whole process of the circular economy, because their interests are largely breached with the closed repair environments.
Yeah. I mean, in the last years, there's been, at least I know in Europe, the European Right to Repair campaign with partners like iFixit, who promotes a kind of like a approach similar to free open source software, that citizens, when they buy devices, they should have the right to know how to maintain them and how to repair them, and sometimes you mentioned in your speech before that sometimes it looks more like a closed source model, where your device doesn't seem to be owned by fully you, but the manufacturer has a lot of power on it. Recently, for instance, in the ITU work with Anders, we were involved in one study about selling, let's say, the service instead of the devices, servitization, in which case the ownership is clearly shared between the supplier and the user, and then a device can be returned and can be reset and prepared for another user, and that promotes more durable design, but at the same time also creates a stronger dependency on the manufacturers, perhaps. So servitization is also another way of circularity with potential some drawbacks. In the case, for instance, of e-waste, I was looking at the Global E-Waste Monitor, and one of the, for instance, actions is that there are countries with no e-waste regulation yet. So this is a risk because it's a way, it's an opportunity to export e-waste disguised as operational devices, and then without e-waste regulation, that becomes a major source of pollution because they get dropped and forgotten. So I encourage you to try to translate your comments and action items in particular to this board, so we can produce a report at the end. I see already a link to the 266 session on Monday. Comments about from Avis that the challenge of community decentralization to transfer and collect e-waste. Yeah, for instance, in ITU, I'm involved in one discussion about the role of universities and equivalent training institutions in helping emerging economies to create sustainable practices of e-waste management, and also all the aspects of that appear before, like public procurement and inventory management and repair, and anything related to extending the lifespan of the devices. That's also an important work to do because developed countries in the end end up having careful regulations, whereas some other parts of the world do not have. I don't know if you're aware, but they couldn't make it for this session. But there is an NGO called Electronics Watch, which is looking at the manufacturing and public procurement of ICT devices, and it seems that public procurement is very strong because in this procurement contracts they can include clauses which make sure that manufacturers comply with labor rights and also with environmental rights, and then everyone benefits from this, because if manufacturers become committed to respect those limits, they do it for every device, not only for those supplied for public institutions, but also to the normal citizens. So this is also an interesting way to introduce incentives that benefit the environment. Okay, I see a note from Jorge about this topic. So I mentioned about toxin-free and circular economy in 10 years. Not sure. Anders, do you want to explain your comment also?
I mean, this is that we have. I see the Swedish politicians and governments, so that seems to be their vision: toxin-free, bio-based, circular economy. Yeah, I don't know how quickly, but very as fast as possible. But then we have to discuss: is this possible? What speaks for that? What speaks against that? In reality, will we ever reach that? Bio-based may have its own problem, with the land use and biodiversity issue. To implement that globally. Circular, yeah, maybe it is possible with the new business models, but then you maybe have to legislate business models from the top. Don't want to actually say. I mean, I'm very much fond of the actual what is theoretically possible, the actual exact truth with the economic system we have, so we don't fool ourselves. We also have this Hans Rosling and all of these books that yeah, we don't have any problem. The life length expectancy in the world is going up. I mean, so we also have to think at the absolute top-down perspective. Also, the health, human health, is it getting worse? It's getting better. You know, that's one thing. So to put everything into perspective is also. But also discuss this hard question: what actually is possible? Is this what we're doing now? Is just incremental stuff? You know, eco-labeling system may be ready in 10 years. What would that lead to?
Yeah, but for instance, the current situation shows that it can be feasible things we didn't expect to happen. So there is a potential for not only incremental change, but also radical change. And one topic that I wouldn't like to leave without mention is that we tend to typically think about devices and environment, but sustainable development goals have to do with dealing with inequality, and and people suffer inequality. And in previous workshops, there was a discussion about the intersection between environmental rights and human rights. And we define rights in terms of human beings. And we have to make sure that the lives we live and the devices we enjoy apply and appear for those who can connect and those who can interact through digital means. But as we saw before, Wysted had big issues to convey his message. And in terms of connectivity, we are talking about about half of the population in the world is unconnected or is partially connected. And the solutions should work for everyone, not only for those who are able to participate in these remote forums that have good connectivity. So this is also, inequality and social justice. It's an important thing. And also I see a contribution from Shauna on gender, feminist perspective, and intersectional issues. And one comic on the footprint of the internet that I recommend you to visit. I don't know if anyone wants to comment about the gender dimension of the circular economy and how efforts are unequally distributed across different economies, but also across gender and different populations. Yeah, David is also raising the question of the importance of having data about. We have opinions, but also we can collect data about the durability and of existing devices, and this is information that people should know to be able to label and to aggregate information and to know that which brands or models, not only how repairable they are, but also how durable they are. And yeah, as Anders says, there is labeling coming related to that, but also citizens can not only collect information about how to repair the devices, but also about what is their experience. So we can also incentivize manufacturers to produce better, more durable devices. So I think we are close to the end of the session, and I would remark. I mean, there've been a lot of ideas. I took several notes, but I hope you have a better understanding of all the different aspects on the different, let's say, stop points in the circular economy trip, and the entering and leaving materials and energy that appear on it, and how everything is connected. And I hope also we can continue the discussion on how to strengthen and how to continue discussing about the governance of of the environmental sustainability of ICT technology, and in particular, the approach from the circular economy, but there are others. And I encourage you to keep coming to the upcoming workshops. As Rossi mentioned before, there is one session on Monday in the APC booth on the introduction of the GIS Watch, the Global Information Society Watch analysis, which is in this period, this year, or it's devoted to environmental sustainability, like it was 10 years ago, and also the introduction of a circular economy guide. That is a first release of the draft document, and then you can come and learn and also contribute ideas for the final version that will be due beginning of next year, probably. Yeah, Shauna has shared here the link to the booth, and so you are welcome on Monday to come and visit us and discuss and continue the discussion. You have my email or my contact in the session, but anyway, please, if you have any comment that was not covered, please send me a message, and I will be happy to include it in the report. And I think this is the time for the end of the session. So thank you so much for joining us, and see you in the upcoming sessions on environmental sustainability. Thank you so much. Don't forget to send feedback, because yeah, the topic is here to stay. So we have to make sure that it gets reinforced.
Thanks so much, Leandro. Thanks all. And thanks so much to the technical team.
Yeah, it was really smooth. Thank you so much. Because being invisible means you are really very visible to keep the discussion so smooth.
Thank you very much. I had the pure pleasure to be IGF host for this session. So thank you for participation at the IGF 2020, and please leave your feedback through the form you will be automatically redirected to after closure of this session. Thank you all very much indeed.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.